big news, guys. Today we have finally officially achieved the okay to buy for the S650 Mustang. Yes, that's right. That means no more delays for the S650 Mustang. We've been hearing about it. It's supposed to be coming in the summer. It's still technically summer, but late summer indeed. And Ford has finally officially said, the Mustangs have gone through all the quality control and has received the okay to buy. Hey guys, welcome to Red 50. Thank you for tuning into another video. If you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. So what does okay to buy mean for the Mustangs? Well, okay to buy, as the name suggests or the phrase suggests, we finally have the go from the Ford where they have done all the quality control, where they have built the customer order, the dealership orders, and they have done multiple rounds of quality control to make sure everything is good before they ship them out to the dealer. That's one thing I have to say I really appreciate Ford doing this time around. As if you guys recall from my earlier videos back in April or May, Ford stopped the production of these Mustangs for a week or so because they wanted to improve on some of the quality control. My 2019 Mustang GT has had some panel gaps that, are okay maybe on an EcoBoost or a GT, but this is building on the same, the GT500, the Mach 1. And when you're paying that kind of money for a Mustang, you want to make sure everything is good to go. So the panel gaps and all that is just not acceptable for a car $70,000, $80,000. Now, of course, we don't have a Shelby for the S650 Mustang just yet, but we do have the Mustang Dark Horse. And the Dark Horse is going to be starting with the $60,000, and you put the handling pack, the carbon fiber, it gets to $70K without any markups, no problem. And when you're paying $70,000 for a vehicle, you want it to be as perfect as it can be. So I really appreciate Ford taking their sweet time, making sure that they're able to put some quality control and making sure everything kind of looks good before they ship out to the customers. Because we have seen tons of reviews that have been, once the embargo was lifted for the Mustang GTs, the Dark Horse, the EcoBoost, a lot of reviewers are praising it. But of course, these are people that are getting paid to do so, and that just means, they're not going to badmouth Ford unless there's something extremely wrong with the car. They're going to, generally be leaving some positive remarks on the car just to make sure they get invited to other Ford launches as well, because, their whole focus is not just the Mustang content. Their focus is basically general automotive content, and Ford's got tons of other cars, or even if it's just Mustang related, you want to make sure you are invited to the future Mustang launches. So for some of the smaller stuff, they won't really point it out, but, as the cars kind of get into the hands of, real owners, real users that are seeing things day to day, that are paying for the vehicle with their hard-earned money, they're going to be a lot more critical with the car than people who are just doing it for review. So Ford obviously wants to make sure that, when they're putting out those cars in the hands of the real users, or, the real people, when they're using those cars, the quality control, the way the car drives, the way the panels fit, all of those things matter to people paying $50,000 for a vehicle. Because we do know that the Mustang prices have gone up significantly from the S650 Mustang. So while it's still pretty affordable compared to some of the German competition, it's still pretty pricey. It's no longer a cheap $30,000 GT Mustang. Like, to be able to get a base V8 Mustang, you have to spend $42,000 MSRP. And to me, that is a lot of money for a Mustang, which nothing is wrong with, but, then you're kind of expecting more quality out of a Ford product than just something that's not gonna that's going to have some panel gaps, it's going to shift funny, and all of that stuff just is not going to be acceptable in that price range. Now, one thing that is very interesting is Ford recently also said, they've got about, I think, 13,000 vehicles that are ready to ship. So they're going to start shipping basically this week. So you will be able to see them at your dealers. I want to say later this week, or definitely early next week, there should be at your dealers. And if you did place your order personally, your dealer should be contacting you in order to arrange the timing when you can pick up your new Mustang. The interesting part of that statistic is Ford said that 2/3 of the Mustangs are actually V8, which is surprising because I know the prices have gone up and Mustangs, have been associated with the V8 for the longest time you can think of. Like, that's the typical image of a muscle car. But in the end, EcoBoost and the V6 back in the day sold more to be, to allow for the V8s to kind of still be relevant, or to still sell well, because it starts out with an EcoBoost and, all the rental lots, and people just want a cool car but don't really care about it in terms of the sound and the power. They'll go for an EcoBoost. But surprisingly, more and more people are taking the Vias. And I think part of it has to do with, one, Ford has done a great job with the Gen 4 Coyote, making almost 500 horsepower in just the GT trim. Yes, it is a mid-refresh or so compared to what I have, the S650 Mustang. But in the end, they still did a pretty good job with this refresh, and the more and more I see it, I'm starting to get used to it. I really want to drive it and see it more in person to, maybe I'll be convinced to upgrade this one into the S650 Mustang. But of course, the biggest contributor to that is that Dodge has stopped taking the orders for the Challengers and Chargers. So if you wanted a V8 muscle sedan or a muscle coupe, muscle car in general, you cannot get the Challengers and Chargers anymore. Camaro has been gone. So if you want a V8 muscle car, Mustang is your only bet. And while I may be biased a little bit, I think Mustang is one of those cars that Dodge went with the crazy route, right? There, if you want a crazy horsepower build, the supercharged Hellcats, the Demons, Dodge is for that, right? The interior is going to be okay. The car may not last for a long time, but it is going to be amazing. Like the car itself, 700 plus horsepower, 800 horsepower, race gas, all of that is just absolutely insane. In my opinion, having driven a couple Camaro SS, I think it drives better than the Mustang GT, even with the performance pack. And if you look at a lot of reviews and the comparisons online, you will come to the same conclusion that the Camaro is just a better driver's car. So if you were going to be at the track, if you're going to be basically racing the car 24/7, then yes, get the Camaro. But Mustang has done something which has always attracted me towards it. It's a very daily drivable car. It's got power, but it also has your interior comfort. It takes into consideration, the seating position, how the car sits, how the car drives, like is it especially too stiff, and all of that into consideration as opposed to some of the other cars, like the Camaro. I mean, Camaro was an amazing driver's car when I drove it. I actually loved how, the car felt in terms of driving it, the cornering, even just taking normal turns. It was phenomenal. But I couldn't see myself taking that car on a road trip. With my Mustang, I have taken plenty of road trips in the car, and with the quiet mode and the exhaust and everything, the car just drives fine. Even on a bumpy road, the car drives so much better. Sure, it's a little bit lowered and all of that, but ride quality of this, and how the interior is laid out and all of that, it really adds to it. And I think I'm beyond impressed with how the car drives for a 460 horsepower muscle car. So yeah, we're really excited. The OKTB has been achieved, and we're finally going to be seeing the Mustangs come out, being shipped to the dealers, and you'll be able to soon see it in person. If you haven't seen it in person, I highly recommend it. The pictures don't do it really enough justice. I'm still kind of torn in terms of how it looks as compared to the S650 Mustang, but there are certain angles where I find it to be a lot more aggressive and much better than the S650 Mustang. So I'm getting a little bit warmed up to it. If you have a Ford dealer near you, definitely check them out. You should be seeing them later this week, early next week, and it's going to be amazing to be having the Mustangs in person, the S650 Mustang just roaming around. It almost feels like yesterday when they were first launched, and I was at the Detroit Auto Show checking them out, and now it's been a year, almost a year, and we finally have them being delivered. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment below if you have placed the order of the S650 Mustang. What trim did you go with? And of course, subscribe to Red 50 for more videos on the S650 Mustang.